Hello guys, this is Wonderby Trading and we're carrying on with our weekly Bitcoin and Ethereum price analysis. In front of you, as usual, you can see the 4 different charts, all related to Bitcoin. The one on the top left is the BTC futures, and the top right is the BTC Dominance, and the two at the bottom are coming from different exchanges. The one on the left is Bitstamp with longest history, and the one on the bottom right is Binance, where we actually trade. So let's go straight into the content. As usual, we're starting from the weekly overview. So you can see in front of you the weekly candles. And obviously the most important thing is that during that during the past week, we saw a huge move below the 50 MA. And at the same time, this happened over the weekends because the actual candle on the futures was green. So it means that from Monday till Friday last week, we were actually going up. And during the weekends, we had this huge dump below the 50 MA. So we passed the support level straight away. What else we can say is that on the future market, at least, we will see the increase in volume starting from the beginning of the year, so from January till mid-February, we can see that there was an increase in volume. Now the volume is slightly dropping for the past couple of weeks, and this can be one of the reasons why it was so easy to pass this particular support of 50 MA on a weekly chart. So let's switch all our drawings from the previous weeks and go straight into the content. So go into the daily charts and go into more details on the future markets. So what we were expecting is actually, we were expecting this drop towards the area of 61%, between the 61 and 65% of a Fibonacci retracement. However, it went even further down. So you can see that the Monday move, so starting on the Monday early in the morning, there was still a downward move even further towards the area of 78% of Fibonacci retracement. But this is exactly what we've been talking about last time. So we saw the retest and recheck of the 200 MA as a resistance, and from that point we saw a huge drop towards the area where we were expecting the Bitcoin to be, so 7,900, yes, around that. For now, the volume is not that great, even though it is higher than the volume during the previous week, but we will still want to see at least the higher volume, and probably the divergence on the RSI will be another confirmation that we found the local bottom and somebody is buying Bitcoin back. So that's exactly what we're expecting. Based on the idea that we don't see this yet, and that was the move from the downward trend. So probably we're going to go even further down, rechecking this bottom, the local bottom over here at around 7,300. This could be a further downward move for Bitcoin. So let me plot it on the graph over here. So we can probably go down even below. If we'll see an increase in volume during that time, we will see some area of consolidation, same as we saw during the previous days. So over here there was a slight consolidation between the 200 MA and 50 MA. So this is exactly what we would be looking for in the area of 7,200. At the same time, it would be really nice to see the divergence on the RSI. So while the price will go down, the RSI will actually start increasing, and this will be a signal, including the volume, that somebody is buying back the Bitcoin at this level. So this is exactly what we're going to be looking for. So for now, it obviously looks very heavily to the downside. And we're not talking today about this gap in particular, because this is actually a huge gap, and it doesn't seem and doesn't look like it's gonna close within this week. This will be very surprising. So the example of such huge gaps are here in history, and you can see it while we were going up. So you can see that this gap, for example, on the 14th of June, we had a massive increase of around 6%. And then this gap was actually filled only during the September retracement of Bitcoin futures. So I wouldn't say that we're expecting this gap in particular to be filled during the first week. It would be filled later on, but it would not matter at that time, because statistically speaking, we are just concerned about the 1 week projection. So in terms of the futures, that's it. Let's go to the BTC Dominance. Okay, so what we can see over here, we rechecked this zone. We were expecting to go a little bit higher towards the 200 MA, but we're stuck with the 50 MA as a resistance, which is a good sign for us, which means that at this stage, the altcoin markets can either depreciate slower, which is not usually the case for them, or we can see that some altcoins will be pumping even though the Bitcoin is going down. Usually there is a negative relationship with Matic, for example, between BTC and Matic. Let's look at the Bitstamp. So this one is the Bitstamp BTC USDT price chart, and we're using it primarily for the long-term analysis. So again, the weekly overview, in front of you, you can see this in particular. The weekly candle suggests that we're in quite a good downward trend. Even though, well, we had on the 24th, we had a very strong bearish candle. The 2nd of March, it is still bearish. We crossed the 50 MA, so it's not acting as a support right now. We actually going for the local bottom, so it's around 6,900. So I'll mark this over here. And it actually looks like we are going to recheck this bottom. If it will be so, then our prediction, which we made a couple of weeks ago about this huge move and huge triangle, and this is the big resistance line over here, which we didn't actually quite touch it yet here, can be true, which means that we need to find another local bottom here at this level of 6,800, an increase in volume, something like this, for example, or this will signify that somebody is buying back some of the Bitcoin and converting into long positions rather than short positions. We should go slightly below the level to actually take off some stop positions as well. And this will be a wonderful setup for the future growth in April, for example. So let's go to the Binance exchange. Over here, we're talking about the short-term trends. So we touched this a local downward trend line, as we mentioned last time. It was holding us as resistance for some time. We still went through it, and then the level of 8,500 was broken with a very, very nice volume, a very strong bearish candles. So you can see that this move overall went towards the next level of support, which is 7,800, which was marked for us at this stage. You can see a nice and strong volume here. You can see that the area size going towards the oversold region, which is quite a good indicator to actually start buying back a little bit of Bitcoin. However, don't rush into it. The usual confirmation I'm looking for is a divergence. So probably something like this. We'll see the retest of around 8,300, maybe even 8,000, because it's just a good and round number. And then another depreciation of the price towards the level of 7,600. And if during that stage we'll have the RSI divergence on the 4-hour chart, this will be a nice signal to actually consider that we might see some local bottom, and there will be a very short-term upward trend. At the same time, over here we can see that the RSI, the previous bottom based on the RSI indicator, is exactly the same as this one on the 9th of March, while the price is actually going down. So in some cases we can consider this as a diversion itself, but would need to see the local divergence here as well. Okay guys, let's switch to the Imperium. And over here, as usual, we'll start from the weekly candlesticks. Same as Bitcoin, we saw that the previous 2 weeks there was a very heavy drop with a very strong volume, especially on the week starting on the 24th of February, a strong bearish candle. On the daily chart, we were talking last time that we went into that channel. We rebounds from the bottom of the channel, went actually to the top of that channel, and then a very strong candle yesterday which broke everything, the upward channel, the 50 MA, and stopped exactly at the price that we suggested last time, 200, and that was exactly the point. So 200 is a nice round number. Usually the round numbers count as good areas of support, and taking the historical overview that it was actually acting as a support line for several points in history. So what we're expecting next is actually a further downward move. We're currently between the 50 MA and the 200 MA, so we will be consolidating a little bit, but it will look like this. So we should go and recheck this 50 MA, go down towards the 190. We should break the level of 200. This will be quite vital for us. If the price will be quite slow in terms of its movement and will stay in that horizontal channel, then something like this, so we will be able to see that the 200 MA start slowly to increase, and it will act as a support at around 190. We don't see any divergence on the RSI. Well, you can definitely put a downward channel through the top, like that. This at some point will act as the resistance, but at the same time what we are looking for right now is a short upward move towards the 50 MA to test it as a resistance now, and then to check the 200 MA as a support. This can take slightly more than a week, but again, taking into account what happened during the weekends, you can probably expect that some move towards the end of the week can be absolutely massive. That was it for this week. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay tuned with our weekly reviews of Bitcoin and Ethereum, and best of luck with your trading.